Hey guys, welcome back to Team 6K. This is Undead. I am bringing you back Melodious. So, on release on ArgV World, some of you might know this deck was actually meta for a bit. That's because of the release of Bloom Diva, the Melodious Choir. It cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. Also, if you battle a special summon monster, you get to destroy it and burn your opponent for it's got its 1,000 attack, right? Let's say they have 25 attack. You would, whatever battle damage you would have take, because you don't take battle damage, whatever battle damage you would have take, you essentially inflict half of that to your opponent as burn damage. So that's essentially why this was good, because back then destruction was was kind of relevant, and I think that the back row back then was enough to back this up, for anything that wouldn't destroy. But there's so much baiting for removal these days that this just isn't a very good strategy anymore, realistically. However, what is a really good strategy, because if you look at all of the meta decks, right, many of them are main decking DD Crow, which, if you're unaware, is a quick effect, discard it from your hand to banish a card from the grave. So you can interrupt your opponent by banishing cards from their grave to stop them from doing what they need to do. That is something that people are main decking now. It's really good, this format. And Bloom Diva, while it may not be as versatile and as powerful as it used to be, Melodious have their own DD Crow. So I believe, because if you use this card, you can do a lot better with Melodious, and you'll see that in the replays. So what essentially this one does, which is way better, is once while it's face up on the field, you can banish up to 3 cards from either of both players' graveyards, and then it gains 200 attack for every card banished. So the fact that it's up to means if there's only 1 card in your opponent's grave that you want to banish, that's all you have to banish. But if they have more that you want to banish, you can still banish all of them. That's triple DD Crow. And the fact that it's once while it's face up on the field is definitely, it would be considered a downside. However, you're banishing 3 cards at once, which makes it an incredibly impactful interruption. As well as the fact that if you Book of Moon it, or if your opponent Book of Moons it, then you flip it face up again, you can use it again, which is awesome. But if you're unaware of how the Melodious deck works, if you're interested in this new way to play it with the Schuberta is her name, if you want to play essentially Schuberta Turbo, then this is a great deck. This is kind of the only deck that can summon it. It does require 2 Melodiouses. But how do we get it out? We don't have Poly in this deck. The reason is we have Soprano, the Melodious Songstress. If this card is special summon, you get to, get a Melodious from your grave back to your hand. This is pretty nice, but its main effect is, while it's on the field, you can Ignition effect fusion summon using monsters you control that are Melodious. So this plus any Melodious equals this. These 2 fusions are not as lenient. They actually require you to have essentially a level, what's it called? It's not literally a level, a high level Melodious, but it just so happens that they require monsters that are a part of the high level category. So if you have a high level one, including one of the fusions, you can use the fusions as well. You can summon one of these 2 alongside it, but yeah, essentially we have this, great to normal summon. We also have this, which can summon it from the deck, or any of our Melodiouses, right? Any of our level 4 or lower Melodiouses from deck. Only if we control no monsters, though. That kind of sucks. But if you're just trying to get your play started, you're obviously going to activate this first anyway. You know what I mean? So it's not such a bad thing. So you're going to use this, maybe summon this from deck. If you have this, you can special summon it from your hand if you control a Melodious, not all once per turn effect. Also, bonus effect, it makes all of your Melodiouses, including itself, gain 500. As well, we have the score, which is like a battle hand trap. You know, if your opponent dares to battle you, or if you want to battle your opponent, you can discard this during damage to make that your opponent's monster 0 attack, 0 defense. So using score, you can beat over anything in battle. We only play 2 of this and 2 of this because they don't get your play started. You can technically search for them. And you know, they really brick you sometimes, so I'm not really trying to play 3 anymore, just like people played 3 back then, but it's not worth it anymore. I want to keep it to 20 cards so I have more, you know, more consistency. I feel like consistency is incredibly important in this deck, considering we only have technically 7 starters. 7. Ostinato is the 7. If you control no monsters, unfortunately you can't use it next to first movement solo, but Ostinato, if you control no monsters, you get to like fusion summon using materials from your deck a Melodious monster, but on the end phase it's destroyed. Usually the play with this is to summon this one for free, because it can't be destroyed in the first place, and so that end phase destruction doesn't matter. However, this can be treated as like a DD Crow with a little bit of burn damage if you can. You can just summon this, right? Because even though it's gonna die on the end phase, right, you can still just banish your cards from the opponent's graveyard before that end phase even happens in the first place. And you know, if you're going for an OTK play, it doesn't matter that that is gonna die on the end phase anyway, because there's not gonna be an end phase, right? But you know. But that's like the 7 starters. You'll want to have them and another way to extend in your hand most of the time. But we do have this. Schubert is my best friend, is always in my opening hand. This is the card you do not ever want in your opening hand under any circumstances. But it's always there. It's always there for me. I feel like other people watching this video will have a better chance with this deck than I would possibly have, because they do not have my bad luck with drawing 1-off bricks. But how we getting that out? It doesn't special summon itself. You gotta tribute summon it. That's not gonna happen, right? So the skill essentially lets you send a face-up monster you control who is a Melodious. You send it to the grave. They can't respond to it because it's a skill. Then you play a Melodious Maestra, which is the high level ones. You play one from... People used to play Mozarta, the Melodious Maestra, to summon as like, you know, like a more versatile option. You know, if you happened to open your Schubert, you could summon this from your deck instead, because you can special summon a fairy from your hand, right? Using its ignition effect, which is cool and all. However, the issue with that, in my opinion, is that if you're unlucky, like me, or like many other players, you will draw both this and this, and that is definitely not a place you want to be, especially in such a high-paced meta like we have right now, where if you don't set up a decent, like, defense turn 1, or if you can't kill immediately turn 2, or set up, like, or break the board and set up a defense turn 2, you lose most of the time. You really need to be aggressive in the current format of Duel Links. So having 2 bricks in your deck is really, really not where you want to be. So even though it is nice to have Mozarta, I had to cut it. But, you know, apart from that, it's a very simplistic deck to play. Something that you'll see in the gameplay is Ostinato allows for kind of interesting combos that you wouldn't ordinarily be able to do. But, you know, it's not going to happen that often, so I'm not going to explain it in the deck breakdown. You know, but yeah, I should also mention this one is the OTK piece. It essentially attacks the amount of times it had fusion materials for, so usually attacks twice. You know, if you're trying to go for game, it's usually like 2500 attack or something. But yeah, Book of Moon, because it's Book of Moon. You know, every deck needs to play 3 Book of Moon, realistically. Treacherous Trap Hole at 2 copies per deck in this deck, because having 2 is not a downside in this deck, because we can always banish the first copy with our Schubert, so we can always use both copies. This is one of those treacherous decks. And then of course we need to have back row removal. Not really trying to lose to Book of Moon, you know what I mean? Technically speaking, you should probably be playing MST, but you know, Boomy, the person that I made this video for, essentially, doesn't have MST, they just have Book of Moon. So I'm just showcasing this for them. But yeah, let's get into the game, shall we? 1 second here against Galaxy Eyes. They're gonna set up their full combo. They don't actually have the full combo, but they do have 2 back row, which can be annoying. I happen to open with Ostinato, so I'm gonna summon the Melodious, right? He's going to Photon Stream of Destruction it right away. I was hoping that he would do something to it, so that way I would be able to use my first movement solo. So of course this is the better card, it's a better bait. So I use this first, then I use this, and I have my combo again. I summon this from the deck, because I already have this, right? I'm going to use the skill to get this out. You know, I can just add this back, normal summon, special summon, right? And I'll go into Schubert to set a Treacherous. I don't think that banishing from the grave, like on my end phase, would have been that profitable for me, because like if he had a follow-up, I wouldn't have been able to banish what I needed to banish. So I just ended the turn knowing that he would have a follow-up, which he did. I have the Treacherous to get rid of his 2 Galaxy Eyes. He normal summons his Monster Reborn, essentially. I banish all 3 Galaxy Eyes from his grave, and he can't possibly play the game anymore. That is the beauty of this deck. I'm going second again against Galaxy Eyes. I would love to go first, but you know, I'm okay with going second. They have the full combo this time. My hand isn't fantastic. It is pretty good because of this first movement solo. I do have the Book of Moon. If they set a back row, I would like to top deck a Cosmic. Thankfully, I do top deck a Cosmic. I get rid of his Treacherous. He chains. I might as well chain the book. I'm going to use the book anyway, you know, turning off his negate. So now I use the first movement solo, summon my fusion summon. Get this out of the deck using the skill, use it to add back. Then since I have a normal summoned, I can normal summon this, right? Special summon. Since I could fusion summon, right? I could 100% fusion summon, but I have score in hand, so I might as well just attack for game, because I do have lethal if I change his thing to 0 using the score. Very easy way to OTK. This deck is pretty good at OTKing if it needs to. So finally, I get to go first. I have the first movement solo to get my combo going. Of course, you know, I have a normal summon, so I get to use my skill to add back my fusion, normal summon the fusion, go into my DD Crow fusion monster, Schubert, set a Book of Moon. I'm going against Crystron, and Crystron is full of graveyard synergies. I'm going to let him do what he's doing, you know, eventually, but not after I DD Crow him. He has 2 back rows, definitely a relevant thing to have. I'm going to book myself, so I can flip myself up, so I can get my graveyard interruption yet again. He's going to summon this, and I'm not going to attack it, because it has a floating effect when destroyed. I'm not going to give him, you know, his own game plan. I'm going to wait it out until I know I can attack the game. So he's going to summon his Scrap Recycler, send another Sulfiner. He's going to summon Sulfiner. I'm going to banish his grave yet again. All those grave effects, I'm not letting it happen. He's ending his turn again. This time, I'm just going to set my book and attack into a Scrap Recycler, do a lot of damage, so I'm still not trying to get this guy to float. This guy doesn't float on destruction, but it does have a grave effect. But yeah, he's going to be able to use that grave effect finally, after all this time. He's going to use his Sulfiner from hand. He's going to summon a Tuner from deck. Unfortunately for him, I do have the Treacherous Trap Hole, and he scoops it up. I've banished his grave a couple times. I Treacherous Trap Holed him. Like, this deck, bro, this deck shits on graveyard strategy. Here, as I said in the deck description, I did open the Shapina, which is really annoying. I'm going against Fossils. You know, it's unfortunate that I have the Shapina, but, you know, I can at least do something with the first movement solo. Thankfully, I did top deck the Sonata, so I can fusion summon, which is great against this deck, which is a graveyard-centered deck. I might need to speed up the gameplay because this was a very long duel. He's going to use Fossil Fusion. I'm going to banish all of the rocks from his graveyard so it doesn't resolve. Well, it resolves, but without effect. He's going to use this to book me, which is actually great for me because now I have my effect back because of him. I'm gonna Book of Moon him. I am trying to wait until he uses Fossil Fusion, so then I can respond by banishing his graveyard. I'm gonna book his, his play. I'm not gonna let him get rid of me. Of course, he's forcing me to banish now, which is unfortunate. But I can always play through. I keep drawing into first movement solo, which is really annoying. Is the second turn in a row I drew it. I already bricked on the Shapina, so you should know this deck is good enough, even though it's bad sometimes. But yeah, I'm gonna Book a Moon myself, flip myself up again. He's got the book set, so he's gonna book me, which it's good and bad at the same time. He's going to be able to destroy my monster finally after all this time, but I'm going to be able to respond in the damage step to banish all of his stuff, essentially, which is kind of nice. I don't die. I'm going to use the first movement solo, return my thing, normal summon, fusion summon. I'm good again. If he wants to attack me, I can always banish from graves again. I'm going to use the skill. Thinking his deck, he might mill himself. He's gonna book me, which is annoying, but I'm going to banish his whole grave, so he can't activate Fossil Fusion. I'm gonna use it again just for fun. He doesn't kill me. I draw Ostinato, which is great for me. I'm gonna be able to kill his monster and do some burn. He's going to search for Fossil Fusion, but he has no cards in grave. I top deck a monster, I finally use my skill, and I just attack the game. It was a long one, but this deck's got some grind in it. Second against Dark Magician, he's just gonna do his Dark Magician stuff. He doesn't have Dark Magician in hand, so he can't do his stuff. Thankfully for me, most Dark Magician players are not good at the game, so they don't know how to build their decks right. I'm sorry, Dark Magician players, it's just the way it is. I'm going to, because I have a normal summon, I'm going to be able to go full combo. I have Ostinato, I've got it all. I have the Cosmic Cyclone in my hand because I know if he activates Navigation right, I can always just chain Cosmic on his circle. But yeah. On his turn, he's going to be able to Dark Magical Curtain. I would not recommend playing this card. He killed himself because of it. My score, I just essentially wanted to show you a score usage. That's what this game was in the video for. So I get to go first this time. I had a really bad hand, but I do have at least Cosmic and Treacherous. I can stop him from making an extra deck play most likely, and I can get rid of one of his back row. This is the reason I only played 2 score, because I'm not really trying to open multiple of it like this. But yeah, I'm going against Satellar Knights. They're gonna summon a couple monsters. I'm gonna Treacherous them, of course, because what else can I do with this Treacherous? He's going to Lance one of them, which is, hurtful for me. Thankfully, he only sets 1 back row, so I have a little bit of a chance for a top deck. Thankfully, I get Ostinato. I was rewarded for that brick with that Ostinato. I'm going to summon this because it can attack twice. Keep in mind that I sent this and this to the grave because regardless, the skill actually lets me summon it from grave or deck, which is kind of nice. And I have this so I can boost my attack for an OTK when I add it back off of this when I send this to the grave for the skill, as you're about to see. Score for the BM. GG. I'm going first against Galaxy Eyes. This is the 3rd Galaxy Eyes in the video. I am aware of that. However, I'm seeing a lot of Galaxy Eyes online, so, it is at least representative. But I have the Treacherous. He has the full combo. Thank goodness for him, right? I'm going to banish his grave to prevent him from summoning from grave. But he has the follow-up. He has Galaxy Wizard. He's going to use Expedition to summon from deck, but I do have the Treacherous. He's going to summon Monster Reborn, his 28 attack, but that's not going to be enough. I have overwhelming lethal, and he knows that. So I'm going second against Rose Dragon, the best deck in the game as of the recording of this video. They have the same playmat as me, so shout out to them if you're watching. They're just going to go into their Zeta play, set a couple back row, you know, standard Rose Dragon stuff for the first turn. You know how it is. I happen to have Ostinato, which is great for me. I'm going to use it. I am trying to bait out his Zeta right now, because I clearly have follow through, right? I'm going to special summon this in defense so we can't interrupt it. I'm going to use this, summon it in attack, because it's not considered a special summon. It's actually considered a played by a skill. When you play something by a skill, it is not considered to be summoned. But yeah, I'm going to add back, you know, I'm going to normal summon, I'm going to fusion summon. Since he's clearly not, you know, eating this up with his Zeta, I feel like he's probably going to eat this up with his Zeta. So, you know, but yeah, I'm going to special summon this. I have the score in hand to help me. His Zeta is going to banish this, as I thought it would. I'm going to use my effect to banish all of his stuff from the graveyard. By the way, I do it in the damage step, because you can activate this in the damage step, because part of its effect includes attack and defense modifications, because it gains 200 for every banished. So he cannot respond to this with a Book of Moon or with his quick play that revives from grave. So I'm going to be able to banish his stuff. And attack, he's going to Book of Moon me. Ostinato is going to destroy my monster, but Zeta is going to bring back my other monster. He's going to go for another synchro play. He's reviving his level 4. He's going to go into Sammy D. It's been years, so if you don't know what Sammy D does, when it attacks or is attacked, right, it negates all your opponent's like monsters that is, like, it negates the monster that is attacking, and your opponent cannot like activate cards when it's attacking a monster. So I can't use my score, and this guy doesn't get his float. But I can use my score when his Zeta attacks, and he only had 500 life points, so that's definitely enough to attack for game. So that's the deck. Shout out Boomy, by the way, who inspired me to make this deck and make this video. They've been playing Melodious, and they've been doing well with it. You know, I taught them how to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I'm pretty proud of them, how far they've come. So yeah, this is the deck I built for Melodious. I'm not going to lie and say that this deck can't break, because I've drawn Shopina more times than I can count. I feel like I draw Shopina more games than I don't draw Shopina. You never won it, but you will have better luck than me. Like I promise you. Like, it's only one card in 20 cards. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just unlucky. But yeah, this deck is really consistent apart from that. You know what I mean? You should probably play MST instead of this, because, you know, in this format, it does make a difference. But yeah, you know, this deck, as you saw in the replays, it's really good in the meta. I mean, it's not like, I'm not saying this is going to be a meta deck. However, because of Schubert's effect, this has a good place as a rogue deck in the meta if everyone would begin to play with Schuberta instead of with Bloom Diva. So that's going to be it, guys. If you like the video, like the video. If you're new around here, so please subscribe. And if you didn't like the video, piss off.